Hey, this is your name. And they say it ain't easy.
Gang Green have their man.
Jets got themselves a great
Robert Saleh.
Talk about all gas, no break.
The great one.
We're not talking about effort on the field. We're talking about the process at which we do things.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Hurry up. Keep your foot on the pedal. Base.
There's no way I'm not going to have enthusiasm on the sideline.
Hey, own this rep. The New York Jets
Can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the A.E.B.G Green podcast, broadcasting to you live from beautiful, amazing, picturesque Crystal Lake Studios in Putnam Valley, New York. I am joined, as always, by the biggest Jet fan in the state of Texas, none other than my colleague and co-host, Michael Lagaris, everyone.
What's up, everybody?
Fresh off the heels of getting our doors blown in and scoring no points this week. Another embarrassing loss, Mike. Jets have now been outscored, I think it's 46-3 in the first half of these games this year. I think we managed about 160 yards on offense total. This is going to be a long show this week, Mike. We both talked about this already. Jets fans don't want to hear us go on and on. I don't think they want to hear people wallow in the misery of what we've seen last week and the previous week and the first half of that first game versus the Panthers. Most of this year has been a train wreck. It's been a disaster what we've seen on the field, Mike, and there is some glimmers of hope we've seen with defensive players. Some small little glimmers of hope. But, Mike, what happens to those glimmers if even these guys that are playing decent are just on the field the whole day? They never get off the field. I mean, if you look at the numbers the Broncos put up, Teddy Bridgewater had 235 yards, no touchdowns. They had their running game. Melvin Gordon ran the ball 18 times for 60 yards. That's 3.4 a carry. They didn't do anything on offense, Mike. Mm-hmm. They did nothing. Mm-hmm. It's just we could not get out of our own way to such an extent that Mike, you know what? Through 3 games last year, we had 37 points. Through 3 games this year, we have 20 points.
I know.
3 games last year, almost 800 yards. Through 3 games this year, about 720 yards. In some of the mistakes, Mike, the killer mistakes, the things that really bad teams do, like the killer penalties. Even when the game is maybe out of reach, you got Shaq Lawson acting a fool. We had 3 personal fouls, 8 penalties for 89 yards total. The drops, the pressure they're giving up. Mike, there's nothing in this game besides Quinnen Williams. Separate him out for one hot set. Besides our boy Q, there's nothing in this game that you and I should say, that I can take away as a positive at all.
You can't really point the finger at anybody. It's a failure, an organizational failure, really, across the board. You can look at every single attribute regarding the offense, the quarterback play, the receivers, running backs, being able to catch the ball, execution of plays, play calling. You can look at coaching. You can look at penalties. You can look at whatever you want. They're a bad team right now. It's very hard to find positives, like you mentioned. At this point, I think that the team needs to sit down and just look at the results, understand what has been done isn't good enough, and figure out what they can do systematically to play better. Not really just in one area, but all areas. And this is really on coaching, right? And leadership at the top and filtering down, because I think that what we saw on Sunday, they're a better team than that, in my opinion. I mean, they have only played, honestly, 1 quarter of decent football, and that was the 4th quarter of the Panther game. Outside of that, I have seen absolutely nothing offensively. And then from a defensive perspective, there are positives, but the problems are, to your point, how long can you keep that up when you're currently just getting trotted out there? I think the young cornerbacks have done a decent job given where they are and the amount of experience that they have. Like you said, Q Williams did pretty decently, but I think Zach Wilson, he had a very bad game against the Patriots. He had no time. I mean, there were plays where if you took a snapshot of the play, all three receivers were all bunched in one area.
Wow. You showed me that, Mike. I couldn't even believe what I was seeing.
And then there's like shots where Zach is back there and there's free rushers just through the A gap. I think that like offensive line school 101 is don't let pressure through the A gap. Then there's literally these players, these defensive linemen running through the A gap directly at Zach. And I can say that I think Zach played a better game. That interception at the end was not his fault, obviously. That Brett Berrios just completely dropped. I mean, there were so many drops. It's just...
Even the Ty Johnson intercept, the ball he threw to Ty Johnson when he kind of moved in the pocket, Mike, and slung that little sidearm pass out. Now, maybe you don't think the ball is going to come at you at that angle or that quick, that close to the line of scrimmage, but Ty Johnson, you have to catch that ball. I mean, we're not only, and this is what I'm worried about, Mike. Me and you kind of put to bed the notion that the Jets had anything to do with Sanchez not being good because they surrounded him with a great offensive line, great running game, great defense. He had everything to succeed. He just wasn't good. They didn't do that for Sam Darnold. We watched this happen already. We've seen this. This is a rerun. We've seen a guy go through this where not only is the other team all over him, and right now Zach Wilson is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. They've given up 15 sacks on this kid. 5 more sacks on Sunday, 9 pressures on Sunday. If this continues for the rest of the season, Mike, we're talking about the all-time record in sacks giving up. Okay, I'm assuming they're going to correct us. We hope they correct us. But just so that it's in the proper context, over 17 games, if this average continues, he's going to get sacked 85 times. Fathom that. We're talking about 10 pressures a game on this poor kid. So what's he going to be pressured 170 times, Mike? Like, when you put it in perspective, even in the Pack game, like you said, they protected him decently enough in that game. So these numbers are a little startling. And then you add to the fact that when he does make the right read and does make the correct decision and does throw the ball, Corey Davis, Mike, what are you doing? Ty Johnson? It's like when he does make the right read, guys are dropping balls. And you pointed it out so well, Mike, the entire, when it comes to up front and the lines there, you showed me a picture. I mean, they hiked the ball. He took 2 steps back, Zach, and I don't know who, off the top of my head, Mike, I'm forgetting which offensive lineman it was, but it was McGovern. Okay. His back was to a defensive tackle who's just coming right up the middle on our boy. And it wasn't like it was a linebacker or some blitz that was exotic. It was just a defensive tackle. So we're getting into the nitty-gritty here where some of this coaching, Robert Salah, we like his enthusiasm. We like the resume. We like what he was bringing to the table. Everything about it, Mike, before game 1, positive, right? Through 3 games, though, I mean, he's failing us miserably.
And they're regressing.
And they're
getting worse.
Absolutely.
Every game.
When you look at, like you said, some of these assignments when it comes to the wide receivers who are bunched up in the same area, when it comes to these offensive line, where guys don't look like they know what they're doing. LaFleur, Mike, we're through 3 games here. We're averaging almost 7 points a game through 3 games.
6.
Okay.
Yeah.
6.7 points a game. We have 3 points in the first half. Last week, we knew no matter what, even if they weren't able to get big run chunks, they had to establish the run. They only ran the ball 13 times. Okay, so you wonder what this guy's doing also. Like, he's got to be called into question just because we know Zach's athletic. And I'm remembering back when we had Sanchez. Now, arm talent-wise, Sanchez is not comparable to Zach Wilson. Right. But when he was a rookie, and he was a horrible rookie year, Sanchez, but they would be like, all right, well, let's roll him out in the pocket, give him some design throws to make it a little easier. We don't do that.
No,
we don't do any.
LaFleur is. I think he's deer in headlight. They need to bring on someone to help him, some sort of consultant or something, because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I mean, that is apparent to me, and I'm really, and every time I look at the Jets, I'm like, offensively, I look back at all of our play callers offensively, and really there was only one that kind of did decent, and that was the one that was under Todd Bowles with Sanchez, who was, if you want to say he was decent calling plays. We need to get our offensive schemes and how we're calling plays, like Salah. why would you call a timeout when we were going into the half and we were down all those points? And if you don't make the third down, you're going to have to punt back to the Denver Broncos, and the Broncos could go back and score. Now, luckily, the Broncos didn't call a timeout and they went out to the half. But in my mind, I'm like, what do you do? Like, what are you doing? Like, I'm looking at some of these decisions. And then the excuse was that they're not getting any separation. The receivers aren't able to really set. We have a 6'2" beast cat just sitting inactive
play again
and runs. It doesn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sick of you people with your excuses, and you think that you know more. You're not getting it done. You need to reanalyze your approach, and you got to give these young, because you're going to ruin Zach Wilson. You're going to ruin him. He's getting attacked. And, you know, I don't know how long this isn't sustainable. So it's really sad to see. It's a dark place. I knew we were going to have growing pains. I just didn't think it was going to be this bad. It's the worst. We're the worst team in the league, period. It's not even a question. And I really hope that in the next month we see some results. And I'm not even looking for wins. I'm just looking for progress. Just something that we can hang our hat on offensively and say, okay, I think we're looking low. Like, Zach made some good throws. That last throw, that interception that he threw, which went through Berrios' hands, that was a phenomenal play.
Great pass.
That was a great pass. Like, that was on target. You know, he maneuvered through the pocket, you know. So the only thing that's happening right now, the Jets are a laughingstock, but the Giants are terrible. All the other rookie quarterbacks suck. So it's bad, but there's other bad going on. So they're not, they're getting clowned on, but it's not, you know, there's other things going on.
Yeah. I mean, Lawrence, every rookie quarterback, Justin Fields had a historically bad day this weekend.
Yeah.
Every rookie quarterback looked bad.
Mac Jones, 3 picks.
You know, Mike, you touched on so many things there. Mims not playing again. Very interesting, just because of the fact that you saw the way the receivers performed. Corey Davis looked like a revelation there week 1 and looked great in the preseason. Past 2 weeks, Mike has come up small, has not played like a number one, and when he's had a chance to make a play, hasn't made the play.
Yeah.
And some of these interceptions our boy Zach is getting now, when a receiver and a quarterback aren't in sync, maybe a ball's in front or behind a guy, totally get that. But a lot of these balls are not him throwing the ball to the other team. He's throwing the ball, it's in the range of the receiver, they're not making a play. And when you're a rookie receiver, when you're struggling like him, man, it's just like, God, what do you think that does for someone's confidence when they do make the right decision and their team's not coming through for them?
Exactly.
You know?
Mentally, it's just wild.
That's Zach Wilson. We're just failing this kid. It seems like on multiple fronts here when it comes to the play of the wide receivers, when it comes to the play calling, when it comes to the protection. And it seems like he's even, as we said, just seems like he was even more of a high level asset than Sam when it comes to what he can do on the field. We haven't been able to really see it. Let me give you one example. Now, we love to nitpick with plays. The first quarter, we have a run with our boy Carter. It's 8-yard run by Carter. It's 3rd and 2. And Carter starts off in the backfield the next play. They end up running him out wide. We have 5 wide receivers on a 3rd and 2. So we're not even pretending like we're just telling the other team we're going to pass the ball. You know, when they know we have problem passing the ball. And it's one of these things, it's small, it's slight. I know it's not a big deal, but these Jet fans probably noticed this in the game. Just, you know, Zach Wilson's not at a place yet where we can count on him, whether you spread the field out or not. Or I should say, Zach Wilson's not at a place and the wide receiver core is not playing on a level where just because you spread them out, you can expect to get 3, 4, or 5 yards. They spread it out there. The Broncos said, okay, they're gonna throw the ball. They tighten up in the middle of the field. Zach Wilson almost throws an interception. I think on all these different ways, all these different avenues, you can kind of fail a player. That's what they've done so far. I don't see answers. I don't see changes. I don't see things they're doing different. And you mentioned one what we just talked about a moment ago, which was a Denzel Mims. Now, he doesn't play again this week, Mike. The guy is 6'3" and he's 215. If all he can do is run a go route because he can still run a 4.38 or something.
Catch the defense.
Have him on the field. Because Corey Davis is a great player. Or I should say Corey Davis is a good player. Played great the first game, not so much the last 2 weeks when teams were really able to key in on him. And they took him right out of the game. So what weapon do we have going down the field aside from him?
And can I say something?
Yeah.
This is, and I believe that I have the right to call out what the offense is doing. Why do they constantly have Elijah Moore playing as the number 2, as the Y, as the go? He is best at slot, but for some reason they don't put him at slot. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes,
like that's Mims' position. Basically, he should be there. And it wouldn't if you had a Mims on one side, 6'3", 215, even if he's running 2 routes, if he knows 2 plays.
Thank you.
And Corey Davis is on the other side. You have to pay attention to Mims. You can't ignore him.
Thank you.
You have to play him.
Thank you. And put Elijah in the slot. Like, why can't you people do that?
Yeah.
Why can't you do that? Are you smarter than everyone else? Because what you've done is garbage. So why don't you just put the players where their strengths are? Elijah's best in the slot.
Yeah.
Why are you not utilizing him in the slot? Why do you keep putting him on the outside? When
he got a concussion. Now we're not going to see him for at least a few weeks. So basically, Mike, if Crowder's out again, I know Crowder had the COVID issue. Now he has another injury. If he's out again this week and Elijah Moore doesn't play this week, which looks like he's not going to play, and Mims again doesn't suit up, I don't even know what else to say.
I think he's going to play. I think he's going to play because I was reading with Rich Zamini, and there's too much pressure now. And essentially, he puts Berrios in the slot. That's why Berrios has had a lot of targets. Yeah, and then they're putting Elijah out there at the Y, and then they got X as Corey Davis, and they've been running like that and putting in Keelan Cole or whatever, and it's just not working. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully, look, we get Denzel out there. Denzel just has to show us something, like catch the ball, do something. And the pressure is just too great now. So yeah, I think, Keith, the biggest failure right now, besides the offensive line, is the play calling. That's what I see. That's just what I see. You would think that at 2 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, I would be worse on Zach right now. Zach had a bad game against the Patriots, and I saw what he was doing. He was pushing the ball, but I still seen throws of his that I'm like, oh my God. Like I look at the throw and I just say, like with the right situation, I'm still not at the point where I'm like, oh man, I wish we had gotten Trevor, or I wish we took Fields, or I'm not, because of all these quarterbacks, Zach has been the most impressive as far as throwing the ball, like actual ability to get the ball out quickly and accurate. It's just been these situations. One last thing I want to touch on with Zach and what's been going on with this offense, Mike, and just want to give Quinn Williams a little bit of love too before we get on to the Titans. Is that, I said 15 sacks, Mike. I looked it up a moment ago. We've lost 118 yards on those sacks. Can you even? I'm looking it up. No one's even close to that. What's interesting, the second closest Q is actually Ryan Tannehill. 10 sacks on him for 92-yard loss. I mean, that's one glimmer of hope. Maybe we can get to this guy on Sunday. But, bro, 15 sacks. We've lost 118 yards just on sacks. That's not including all the other times we see Zach get pressured, have to run out and make a bad throw. Like, I wish I knew the amount of times, Mike. I wish we could know the amount of plays he dropped back, had a clean pocket, was able to go through maybe his first or second progression, and could rate him on that, which is just a perfect world. I'm just saying, in a vacuum, would be a good way to judge him, because we haven't even been able to see that yet, and we haven't gotten too much into the, you mentioned Justin Fields, other quarterbacks. I saw a lot of different things this week, people, because they don't want to dig deep or use their brain too hard, and they want to go, hey man, look, shouldn't you have kept Sam? And it makes me want to throw up, Mike, at this point. Because one thing, I have no hatred for Sam. So when I have to argue against someone and say, well, hold on a second, let's hit the brakes. Look at the teams. The Panthers maybe played the 3 worst teams in the NFL in a row. And he only had 3 touchdowns in 3 weeks, and he's a 17th ranked quarterback in the league. Let's just hit our brakes. I'm not hating on Sam, but they're acting like Sam is all of a sudden Patrick Mahomes, I saw the same Sam. I saw the same Sam. Did you not see him fumbling and everything?
Well, what I want, and I have no problem with the Panthers. They whooped us. I hope Sam plays great. So I don't have any ill will towards him remotely.
Agreed.
To me, Mike, I think you and I kind of felt, and we said, I think he's going to be better on the Panthers, but his ceiling to me is kind of middle of the pack QB. Right now, everyone's saying he's playing great, and where's he ranked QB wise?
Middle of the pack, just like you said.
So I mean, I'm not trying to hate. Right. I'm just saying, why do we do that to ourselves? So many Jet fans, the self-loathing that we have. And we all know it. We're not going to go down the road with this last 3 weeks too much, guys. I just want to give one shout out to Quinn Williams, because Mike, he was a beast this weekend.
Oh yeah,
he had a sack and a half. He had a couple other pressures. He had 2 QB hits. He had a tackle for a loss. He was the Q that we all saw play the last maybe like 12 games of last year.
Correct.
Just all over the field. Huff had a half a sack too. He played pretty good. And it's this weird thing where you look up and you're like, damn, what was it? The final score, I think, was 25-0, right? And you look at the Broncos, you're like, damn, Teddy Bridgewater was dink and dunked most of the day. He had some good passes, don't get me wrong, but his stats at the end of the game, it's not like they had a huge day. It's not like anyone on their team had a huge day. Like I said, Teddy Bridgewater, 235, Mike, on the day. No touchdowns, no ints. They didn't really run the ball that well. They only averaged 3.3 yards a rush. So you're like, it's so confusing. You know, it's like, that's not even that good. I guess what's frightening, I guess, to say, put it in this perspective, that team's not even that good. The Broncos. I'm sorry, their defense is not that bad. They're not. But their offense is just average at best.
Right. And
when you put your defense in a position like we did last week, you could still get smoked in this league. And that's how the NFL works. So the offense has to do something. I mean, they had the ball almost 36 minutes, the Broncos. Not an easy way to win games, but defense played a little, did the best they could with what they were given. But on to Tennessee next week. Tennessee Titans coming in, MetLife Stadium. I'm going to be joined hopefully by my cousin Sammy, who you guys will hear on the show next week, coach of the Hastings High School football team, giant Jet fan Michael. Tennessee's coming in now, like I just said. If we just got smoked by the Broncos, I'm not saying the Titans are the number 1, number 2, number 3 best team in the league, but they're one of the better teams in the league. I would say, Mike, they got a tremendous running game. I know Brown got hurt, but they still got plenty of good receivers. They got Julio Jones. The quarterback's efficient. Offensive line is decent. They got the linebackers are really good. So I'm just like, when we came in to do our preview of that Broncos game last week, we were like, what do we have to point to? We're not going to lie to these Jet fans. Anyone listening to this show already knows. They already know what the story is. We can't make up fake positives, fake places to exploit going against the Titans. What hope do we have, Mike? Could you give the Jet fans anything going into this game versus the Titans to point to?
I think you mentioned it. Tannehill getting sacked all those times. I think maybe the defensive line could take advantage of that. I know A.J. Brown is down. Julio is their main go-to. Our corners have done a decent job. I don't think that any receiver has caught any touchdown against the New York Jets through three games, which is pretty good. I look at C.J. Mosley, and he's like a missile. I don't know if you remember that highlight where he hit
at the 2-yard line? Oh, my goodness! In my head, I'm like, that's a touchdown. And I didn't know who it was because I was like about 20 feet from the TV. I'm in my kitchen, like making myself a bowl of cereal. Smoke that cat!
Son, lit him up. I was like, oh, there he is. There he is. Yeah, man. So the defense, if given a chance, the Titan defense, unfortunately, but I think their secondary really is not as strong as I had once thought it was. But we're going to be home. This again, offensively, I really don't know what to point to. I think Ty Johnson is, and I'm not saying this because I just traded him away from my dynasty team. I'm saying this because of what I saw yesterday. He is a liability in pass pro, like really bad at pass pro, and not just bad at pass pro, but catching the ball. He also is not showing us anything. I don't think Michael Carter can do it by himself. They need that other running back. I'm thinking even maybe Tevin Coleman when he gets healthy, or Josh Adams should be leveraged, because Ty Johnson to me is not like when I see him in the game.
Hands last week. You're right. He's dropping balls all over the place.
He's dropping balls, but not just that. He's not picking up protections the way he needs to. I mean, guys are just blowing through him.
And this is something to note. This is something to note, man. When you see a guy like Ty Johnson, and like we saw in Detroit, Mike, when he'd have the ball in his hands, he was electric. Last year, when he'd get the ball thrown to him and run it, looked like he was really good. Preseason this year looked great. There's a reason sometimes those guys are, and when you see him and you go, wow, every time this guy gets the ball, he's great. There's a reason those guys don't play every down. Mike's telling you guys right now why. Because there's liabilities that coaches know that we don't know till they start playing, they get enough reps. We haven't seen Ty Johnson enough. I remember him last year versus the Rams. He cut everything. He was catching every single ball in sight. So I don't know what happened to his hands, but one of those interceptions, I know he was maybe only 3 or 4 yards in front of the line of scrimmage. It was a sidearm pass from Wilson, but he boots it in the air, interception. And it was when momentum, and all I wanted the Jets at that point to do was get a drive and score.
Just score.
We had 3 points on the board, got taken off for another horrible penalty. And that's something else. We didn't dive too much into in the game from last week, Mike, but the penalties kind of killed us. But going into this game next week, Titans aren't that bad against stopping the run. They give up about 100 yards rushing a game. It's about average in the NFL. They give up about 260 yards passing a game. We're not averaging anywhere near that when it comes to passing the ball a game. So defense, when you look, it's pretty middle of the pack, the defense. But what they do is they play ball control because they have Derrick Henry. So if you have a running game like they have and you run the ball as often as they do, you have the ball a lot. So even though their defense isn't the greatest, they'll win a game by 3 points. They'll win a game by a field goal, and they have no problem doing that. I know they lost that first game of the year, I believe, to the Cardinals. I think it was 38-13. They played versus the Colts 25-16. They took a W last week. I think it was 33-30 versus Seattle. So we know what they could do. The Titans get pretty far in the playoffs every year, knocking on the door there to get to the Super Bowl, knocking on the door always to get to the championship games, because it seems like they play that bend, don't break defense. They do have some ballers on defense. They have Rashad Evans. I know they have Jaylen Brown. They have the safety, whose name I'm forgetting off the top of my head, Mike, I'm sorry, who's really good. And on offense, they have Julio Jones. I know Brown's hurt. They have Henry. So they're kind of a throwback team that's going to line up. They're going to run the football. They're going to probably not turn it over, even though Tannehill hasn't been as good this year as he was the previous 2 years. And I think Sunday might be a long day for us. I think there's a chance, Titans play the type of games that are close. Don't necessarily blow teams out because of the way they run the ball and the way they play, Mike. So this might be a closer game for us this weekend. I do think we're going to put a touchdown up on the board. You're not going to go 3 games and no touchdown. I have to think we're going to get down the field, put something together against this defense, which is not as talented as the Broncos defense. We're at home. I do think, though, I have to say it's going to be another loss for us, Mike.
Yeah,
I don't see how.
I agree.
I don't see how we get a W. I think 24-10 or something like that. I think it's going to be a day when by the fourth quarter, we're no longer in the game, unfortunately. And I don't know what to tell Jet fans. I don't know what to say to them. I don't know what to come up with. We've been really good. I just want to throw this out. We've spent me and Mike's first podcast, when we started doing this, was when Sam Darnold got drafted. It was his first games. That's what the start of this for Mike and I. So we've been through now 3 seasons and 3 games of this garbage. We are experts at figuring out ways. All the people that sit here and support us, listen every week, which we love you guys so much. We appreciate it so much because we're all Jet fans. We're in this community together. We've tried to come up with ways every single time, man. What's something we could throw out? Mike's great at it. Mike's super positive person in life. That's how he is. Guess what? You've beaten my boy down. That's what you've done to Mike. You did it to me too. I've tried, Mike. This year, I've been pretty positive. I've been trying my best. Let's throw some defensive stats. You at least mentioned the rookie corners have been doing good. We got Q. We have these little scraps. But what do you do to this mess? What can we say to these Jet fans with this mess in front of us?
Here's to me the silver. This is what we need to look at as Jet fans. Why was Adam Gase a terrible head coach? Just besides the fact that he lived in a billion years ago, philosophy-wise. He was terrible because he was not flexible. He was not someone who would adjust. He's not somebody. He only thought it was his way, and that's it. And a lot in life, when you find people who are inflexible, you're not going to get a lot of value because people who are inflexible are either selfish, 1, 2, they're not secure, they're insecure because they don't understand how to take their value and see another way of going and then adapt to that and still be valuable.
So
they just know their own way. Okay.
So true.
So if Saleh is a very good coach, and we all pray he is, you need to adjust. I don't care if you need to call in someone else to call plays. I don't care what it is. You need to adjust, Robert. And I'm going to be watching this coaching staff, and I want to see adjustments, because if the Jets are this bad, but let's just say like 3-4 games, let's say they're this bad for the next 2-3 games, and then we're 0-6, we're terrible. But then game 7, we win a game. And then game 8 and 9, and at the end of the season, we've got like 4 wins, and we've been competitive in all the last games. I'm gonna walk away from the season like, okay, that's what's up. That's really all I wanted to see. I wanted to see the growth, because I want to know this tree is rotten from the beginning before we start pouring water on it. You know what I'm saying? As Jet fans, we need to watch our leadership, our coaching staff, our top players like a Quentin Williams, who had a great game and could have talked all about himself, but didn't, and decided to address what we needed to do and get better with the team. That's what a leader should do. He did that. We need to see, what our leaders are going to be doing during these times and how they pivot. And if they can pivot and show actual tangible value on the field, then I feel like as Jet fans, we can feel good about it. If this does not happen, I mean, I hate to say it, but soon the spotlight is going to be shining on Joe Douglas, because, I mean, at what point do we just continue to say, oh, well, he's rebuilding. Dude, like, this is crazy. But it's early. We have the youngest team in the NFL. Let's just see what happens, man. I mean, who knows? But I the quarterback, I'm not down. I can say that even in Sam's rookie year, until that last 4 games, I was getting skeptical about him because of the turnovers and everything earlier. And then the 4 games happened, and I was like, oh, all right, we got a quarterback. And then next season was when. Zach, I'm not at that point yet because I have seen ability. Like, I've seen ability. Sanchez and Darnold, none of them have had. And I like his attitude. He's not down. He's still looking for positives. And, you know, let's see what happens with the kid. So that's all I
Yeah, Mike. And then you said it, man. I think with Gase, what frustrated a lot of us is we just felt like we saw the same thing and the same mistakes for a really long time in a row. And that just comes to just being maybe too invested in your own philosophy to realize that you're doing something wrong, you know, and that ignorance is just not something in management or in life outside of politics where you can weaponize ignorance to better your cause. Outside of politics, there's very rarely ignorant, successful business owners. They don't really exist. There's very rarely ignorant, successful people in this world, in any field you want to talk to. Open-minded people tend to be more, do a lot more self-analyzation to realize, all right, maybe I want to improve myself. How do I do that? Got to look at what I'm doing wrong. And hopefully that's where Robert Saleh does seem like that type of person. But you did make a good point there, Mike, when it comes to our boy Joe D. We've been singing his praises, tons of great trades, tons of great draft capital, did a great job with the salary cap, this, that, and this. But the bottom line is the result on the field.
That's it.
Now, did anybody expect the Jets to come out, Mike, and just rip through the planet this year? Not really. But say the Jets lost every single one of these games, really close game, and played great, we'd all feel a lot different than we do right now. 0-3 is 0-3, but there's different types of 0-3. This 0-3, we've been 0-3 the last 3 seasons in a row. So we know what this feels like. This one somehow feels worse. I don't even know how to. It feels worse than any of them. And you made a good point when it comes to Joe D, because that 2020 draft class with Mims not even getting any burn, and Becton's been hurt, but Becton was good when he played. But damn, that Hall has played good too. Is Bryce Hall the best pick? Damn, there's a lot of picks, and we thought that was going to be a Drake draft class. Doesn't look like a lot of hits in that draft class. This year is to be determined. It looks like a lot of these rookies this year could pan out, but there's no way to know. And going to this weekend, Mike, we're wounded.
What would be your best outcome? What would you, if you had a wish for the Jets, what would be your top outcome? Mine would be 2 touchdowns to Denzel Mims and they win. Zach Wilson. That would be, because then that would establish him, and that's it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That would be if I could have anything, I want Mims to catch like 2 T's.
Yeah.
Hard. And Zach just that's what I want.
I'll tell you the truth. If I could have anything, it would be Justin to play a nice, clean game from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, because what we saw last week, you can't make a mixture of more of a disaster on the field than not protecting your quarterback, the type of penalties they had, the type of drops they had, the interceptions, everything you could think of was horrific. Yeah. If they go out this week and Zach doesn't tear it up, Mike, but it's the 4th quarter and the Jets are down 17-13 and the Jets make a defensive stop and we have 4 minutes left and our boy goes down the field, okay, leads us into the end zone for a W. I don't care who he throws the ball to. It could be Denzel Mims. It could be Denzel Mims' mom, okay? I don't care who it is. I just want to see our boy feel some success. Yeah. And the fans there at MetLife, me, my cousin, all of us, all the 85,000 fans there going for the Jets, we deserve some success. We deserve something. Throw us a bone. We had Gase all last year and now 3 games of this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my best case scenario, is walking out of MetLife with my head up, being proud of my squad, knowing, we stunk for 3 games, but this team's not going to just bow out 4 games into the season.
Right.
And start making these mental mistakes you saw the end of last game, which are indicative of badly coached teams. That's what I want to see, Mike. And hopefully that is what happens. Don't have a lot of faith it will, but that's why they play the games. That's why they play the games, Mike. All right. That's all we got for you guys this week. Mike, if anyone does want to get at us, support us, be involved in the A.E.B.G world in any way, shape, or form, where could they do that?
Yeah, you can see us on YouTube, Apple, iTunes, Facebook. You can reach us at AEBG.JetsRadio. On Twitter, you can reach us at AEBG_NYJ podcast. And on Instagram, you can reach us at jet.aebg.
You heard the man. On behalf of the biggest Jet fan in the state of Texas, Michael Agaris, my name is Keith Farrell. Get at you next week, everybody. Peace out.